Alright, so it should get, yesterday, like I said, the stuff we went through was probably the hardest. This part, the last part, will be probably the easiest because it's the most recent stuff we did, most of the trig stuff. Alright, so for 31, we have a right triangle. I'll give you a picture of it. Side A, B, and C, which should have been little small letters. I don't know why it's capital now. But anyway, side A is 24, and side B was 32, and C was 40. And it says find the value of the sine, cosine, and tangent for theta. Right, so, if you want, you can put this, SOHCAHTOA. Pythagorean theorem is a squared plus b squared equals c squared. Do I need to worry about that for this problem? No, we already know what a, b, and c are, right? What's the reciprocal of sine? Thanks, you guys. Cosecant. And then for cosine, secant, and for tangent, cotangent, right? All right, now, what I would do, what I like, again, when I do these fractions, I see that they have a common factor, so I'm going to reduce them before I write my fractions. Then my fractions will be in lowest terms, and I'm sure on your exam, it's going to be in lowest terms, your choices, okay? So what number goes into all three of those? What's the biggest that goes into all three? 8, very good. 24 divided by 8 is 3, 32 divided by 8 is 4, and 40 divided by 8 is 5. So it's a 3, 4, 5, the most common type of right triangle. Okay, and then I'll just find. So the sine of theta, here's theta, so opposite 4 over hypotenuse 5. Cosine of theta, adjacent 3 over hypotenuse 5. And tangent of theta would be opposite 4 over adjacent 3. You only had to find those 3. You didn't have to find the other 3. But we would just flip them for the other 3, right? Okay, so 31 will be a basic right triangle, sine, cosine, and tangent. Simple, right? 32 says use a trig function to find the value of x. I would not do that, but you can. I'll do both ways for you. This is one of those special triangles that hopefully you remembered, but if you didn't, you could write that on your little note card, right? 45, 45, 90. We did 1, 1, and what? Radical 2, good. Whatever the sides were, multiply by radical 2 to get the hypotenuse. And then on the 30, 60, 90, we made the short leg, opposite the 30 was the short leg, a 1. What's the hypotenuse? The hypotenuse. No, not radical 3. That's the opposite to 60. Double it, yeah, so that's 2. All right, the hypotenuse is always twice as long as the short leg on the 30, 60, 90. So if you want to write those on your, your note card, that's fine. So that's what I would do. Instead of using a trig function, okay, we're looking for x this side. All right, so I'll do both, but so if I use this as my reference angle, which side is x? Opposite, and 20 is the hypotenuse. So you could do sine of 45 equals x over 20. That's using a trig function. Okay? I would use this. What's the relationship between the hypotenuse and one of the sides? If I take a side and multiply by the square root of 2 to get the hypotenuse, if I know the hypotenuse to get to the side, what do I do? Divide by the square root of 2. That's how I would do it. I would go 20 divided by the square root of 2 equals x. Well, I have to rationalize that, right? Which is 20 times the square root of 2 over what? 2, but what's 20 divided by 2? 20 divided by 2 is 10, right?
Right.
That's how it's going to be your choices. If you do it this way, you're going to get a decimal. Okay? So, your choices are going to be in radical form. Okay? All right? So that's my suggestion, is to do it like I did. Divide by the square root of 2. Any questions? Okay?
Is there going to be an extended response?
No, it's all multiple choice. Okay, draw an angle in with 720 degrees in standard position. Okay? So standard position, remember, is when we made XY axis, and then our initial side was always right here, right? And then we used an arc to show what we're doing. Remember, we go counterclockwise for positive. If it was a negative, we go clockwise, all right? So we're going this way, and 728 is how many times around? It's actually 2 times around, right? Because 2 times around is what? 720, right? So I got to go around twice and go past it how many degrees? 8. So stop in the first quadrant, right? So you're going to have, it's multiple choice. You're going to have 4 pictures, okay, of an angle in standard position. So you go around once, and around twice, and then you stop about right there for 728. Okay? Again, if it was negative, it would be going the other way, your arrow. Questions on that? Again, you'll just have choices to look at. So if it's more than 360, just subtract 360 from it to see if you got a number less than 360. All right? This one we had to subtract 360 twice, which that's where that 720 came from. Okay, 34. Find the measures of a positive angle and negative angle that are coterminal. All right? All we do there is add 360 and subtract 360. Okay? So use your calculator. The subtraction, what? Negative 408. All right? I'm pretty sure that's negative 4. I'll do that first. Yeah. So you'll get 2 choices. And then we'll add, right? 312. 360 minus 48 is 312. All right, so that should be, one of your choices would have those two for your answer.
How many total points?
You know what, I haven't discussed it with Mr. Grubb. I'm thinking if I make each one 3, it's 120. If I make each one worth 4, it's 160, right? If I make each one 5 like normal, it'd be 200, right? It doesn't really matter, does it?
No.
Multiple 5 point, multiple choice.
Yeah, so I can make it each 1 point, right? You know? You miss it? 39 out of 40. If they're 5 points, it's 395 or 195 out of 200, right? So it's the same percent. Okay, so reference angle. All right, remember, this is 90 degrees, right? 180, 270, 360 going around, right? First, second, third, fourth quadrant, right? Little Roman numeral action there. Okay, so we have 114 degree angle. Where does that end up? Second quadrant, right? That's the 114. Remember, the reference angle is that one, right? Between that terminal side and the x-axis. So what do I have to do to find that?
180.
Right, 180 minus 114. Which is what? 76 or 66? 66. Okay? If we were to stop in the third quadrant, what do we do? Whatever it is, minus 180, right? What if we stopped in the first quadrant? What is it? Whatever it is, right? What if we stopped in the fourth quadrant? 360 minus, right? So if you want to, you could say theta equals theta, you know. Here would be 360 minus theta. This would be theta minus 180. And this side is 180 minus theta. Theta being the angle that you're given, right? So if you want to draw something like that to help you, I think most of you remember that anyway, so you probably don't need that, but you can. That helps you for that type of problem. Converting from radians to degrees. Multiply by 180 over pi, right? You gotta get rid of the pi. Degrees to radians, so if you want to put this on your note card, remember we just make a line, put pi in the top, next to that number, and because we can put theta as our, so whatever the angle is times pi divided by 180. Remember, we don't actually put the pi symbol in, we just do the number divided by 180, if we have one of those. This one is the other way, radians to degrees. So we got pi over 10 times 180 over pi. So what happens to the pi's? They cancel, right? So what's 180 divided by 10? 18 degrees, yeah. Okay. Remember, it's not a proportion. You're not going 10 times 180. Some of you like to do sometimes. There's no equal to sign between them. We good? So I don't know if the exam is just one of these that's radians to degrees, or it might flip and make it a degrees to radians. Just remember how to do both ways. Number 37, use the unit circle to find the exact value of the cosine of 30 degrees. So remember, when they say exact value, we're talking about the fraction and with radicals, right? Not the decimal. Okay, so that's will be your choices will be fractions and radical stuff. All right, so when we did the unit circle, 30 degrees, we drew a picture of a triangle. What quadrant is 30 degrees? First, right? So our triangle is out here. Our right angle, remember, is always on the x-axis, and we had 30 there, so that's 60. And remember, on the unit circle, our hypotenuse was 1. So what's always opposite to 30 then? 1/2, yeah. And opposite 60 was radical 3 over 2. We're looking for what? Cosine, I think, right? Is cosine the x value or the y value? The x values. What's our answer?
Radical 3 over 2.
Right. Or you can remember ka, right? Adjacent side, radical 3 over 2 over 1. What's anything divided by 1? Itself, right?
So,
Okay, so that's, if you just put cosine of 30 in your calculator, you're not going to get that radical 3 over 2. And that won't be. But if I would actually put the square root of 3 divided by 2, that's what you'll get for a decimal. Okay? So if you just want to guess and chat, if you want to put it in the calculator and then do all your answers that you're getting, you could do it that way too. But you guys know how to do this anyway. We just got done doing that stuff. Number 38. It says use reference angle to find the value of cosine of 150. That's basically what we just did on the last problem. That's how I taught you. So where's 150 at? What quadrant? 2, right? So over here is my triangle. If this is 150, what's inside the triangle? Third. Okay, so opposite to third. Remember, that's a 1. We just did that just on the other side. That's a 1/2. This is the square root of 3 over 2. But remember, this is negative because I'm on the second quadrant there. That x value is negative. What are we looking for this time? Oh, we're doing cosine again, right? So which one is it, x or y? X. So negative the square root of 3 over 2 is the answer to number 38. Right, Grace?
Right.
You're all over that, right? $39. You're given a picture, a triangle. M, N, and P. And this is side M, side N, and side P. You're supposed to solve the triangle. Angle N was 119 degrees. And angle P was 34. And side M is 11. So you got an angle, side angle situation. Do we use law of sines or cosines? Sines, right? So, we've done this so much, you probably don't need to write that on your card, but if you want, you can. So since I have 2 angles, what should I always find first? The remaining angle. How do I do that? Right. So 119 plus 34 is what? 153? And then 180 minus 153 is 27. We got that done. So I will do sine of 27 over what? 11 equals the sine of 119 over what? N. Good. and then sine of 27 over 11, and sine of 34 over P. Okay? Cross multiply and divide. You guys know how to do that, right? Yeah. And N is 21.2, and P is 13.5. So you would pick the choice that has those three answers, right?
Right.
Okay. And the last one, 40, was another word problem. Two airplanes leave the airport at the same time. One flies due east. So we'll say this is the airport. We'll call it A. Due east is straight to the right. Okay? And it's going 300 miles per hour, and if I read a little further, for 2 hours, right? So what's 300 miles per hour for 2 hours? How far?
600.
600. So I got this side 600. It says the other plane flies east-northeast at a speed of 350. The angle between the two directions is, so it told us the angle between the two was 22 and a half. Like one we had on another practice quiz, we used 45. If it didn't tell us, and it said east-northeast, I would use 45. Split them out. But they told us it was 25. So 350 per hour, how far did it go? 700, right? They want us to figure out how far apart they are after the 2 hours. So this is a side angle side situation because the angle's between the two sides. Is that law of sines or cosines? Cosine, right? So this is law of cosines. So x squared equals 600 squared plus 700 squared minus 2 times 600 times 700 times the cosine of the angle. Some of you on our last quiz mixed up, the degree measure and side lengths. So remember, these numbers are for the side lengths. We're taking cosine of the angle. When you do all that, you get x squared, I think I got that number, no, I don't have that number. I just did it and then did what with my answer?
Square root.
I just did it and did the square root, yes. So when you do all that on your calculator and then take the square root of that answer, you get 272 miles to the nearest mile. All right, so those 10 should be fresh in your mind, shouldn't be that difficult. So the first 15 that we did was pretty easy. The middle 15 is the harder spot, and then the last 10 pretty easy again. So,
What are you doing this weekend?
you guys are coming to see me Monday? Tuesday. Okay. 9 something? Tuesday at 9:10, is that it?
I think so.
Let me check.
Mr. Marley, are we gonna need our laptops at all?
Yeah, 9:10. Tuesday at 9:10. Good job. Thanks for your attention.